So basically last time we talked, I was at a plateau of around like 161 to 162. And I was very stuck with like LR and RC. I think I've managed to master LR now. LG I've mastered also. And RC has just been consistently not going down, like the amount wrong since my diagnostic. Like in my diagnostic, I got minus 12, but now I'm getting consistent like minus 8 to 10. And that's the only thing preventing me from the 170s. So I was wondering if you have any tips for that.
Sure. Well, how are you approaching reading comp right now?
I highlight things that I think are important based on the fact that I've just done so many passages that I instinctively highlight what I think might, a question might be on. And then whenever there's a person like with a main idea or a main viewpoint, I highlight or underline. And then I take maybe like random notes like background information or like viewpoint here, but nothing crazy and it's not consistent. I'm trying different things for each test because nothing's really working.
Okay. I like the idea of experimentation. So that's good.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, are you giving each technique or approach enough time to work? You said each test. So I'm wondering if you're doing 10 consecutive exams, are you doing 10 different approaches?
I'm just kind of doing random things on each exam. I'm not even giving it like a straight strategic plan for each test. And I guess that's part of why it's not working for me, or I'm not finding the thing that's working. But yeah, I'm just very like frustrated with RC right now. I don't know the next step. I'm taking the August test and I don't know what my next step is.
Okay. So you've got about a month. There is some time to play around there. That would be a supplement to doing full-length exams, of course, but on the side, what would a strategic regimented approach look like where you could actually measure things and see what works, what doesn't, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what's efficient, what's not?
I guess that's my question to you. What do you think I could do right now to get like a strategic plan down for the next month?
Okay, so let's lay out the framework and then we can insert anything inside the framework that we want to. So I would say a handful one way, a handful the other way. So 4 timed sections with one particular approach, another 4 with a different approach. Decide which of those is better. Whichever one wins becomes a new default against which you test future techniques and strategies to see what works and what doesn't. So you're consistently testing to find the best out of everything. Now, as for what you actually do, it could be taking notes versus not taking any notes at all. Start there.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure that my problem lies in the questions. I know that's probably like ridiculous that I'm even saying that because that's obvious, but I feel like I have a good grasp of the passage. And even when I know, like when I check back my answers, it's still confusing to me because I know the passage and the answers are so tricky. And that's what gets me. Do you have a method for like checking back answers in the reading comp section specifically? And maybe like, cause I'm not noticing so many patterns like I do with LR in the RC section. Do you have a strategy to check your answers?
Tell me more about what you mean by checking answers.
So I just feel like when I go back to check a test, RC feels very like circumstantial, like each passage is different. So I feel like checking answers like will not benefit me too much just because every passage is different and like the wording of it. It's not like LR where there's like flaws and like I didn't pick up on a flaw or something. It's very like specific to the passage. Does that make sense? It wasn't really a question, but just a way to go about it to like master it down, to lock down like why I got it wrong.
I hear what you're saying. So you're not seeing patterns in reading comp is what I'm taking away from this, meaning that what you're doing on reading comp doesn't matter. There's no point to studying reading comp because a new reading comp passage will be totally different from the previous one. So why are you doing it at all? Let's just go home. Let's close the book. Let's be done. Right. So I'm joking, but there must be something in these patterns. There must be something where, as we always say, topic doesn't matter, right? It's about the underlying structure. So we're not reading these passages for information. We're not reading for facts. Nobody really cares about this random author or this random scientific thing, right? It's about how we're talking about them. Is this person good? Are they bad? Or in reality, everything is nuanced, right? So we have qualified approval or qualified disapproval, or something is kind of one way, except for this one little thing. The nuance is where it's all at, and that's obviously the opposite of the media with sound bites, right? So we really have to dig in deep here to see what's going on and what is buried in those little phrases. The details, you note them, you go back for them when you need to. So you asked about reviewing answers, which I take to mean review, based on what you were saying. So we're reviewing, we're analyzing, we're figuring out where misunderstandings come from, what makes wrong answers tempting, what makes right answers unappealing. The process I recommend for this is called the Socratic review method. And I have plenty of resources on this. If you just go to my YouTube channel, LSAT Unplugged, you search, you'll find full-length, in-depth examples of what that review process could look like. And it's really about drilling down into where your misunderstanding initially stemmed from. It could have been complex wording in the passage. It could have been a complex question stem, or it could have been in the answer choices. And in reading comp, it really is more about process of elimination than anything else. So you could apply that to logical reasoning. You could apply it to reading comprehension. And that's really more about after the fact. Then on the flip side, the initial approach I talked about, you want to figure out just from the very beginning, are the notes you're taking, are they working for you? Could you solve a passage using only your notes, not even going back to the passage text itself? Obviously.
Is that what you recommend?
No, it's not. It's not what I recommend. But the reason I bring it up is that as an exercise, it could be useful to try that out just to see what it's like and to determine how helpful are your notes really. Maybe they're useful, maybe they're not. Maybe the process of writing them down is what's useful, but you don't actually need the paper after that. In which case, it wouldn't really make sense to obsess about over exactly what you're writing down, because it's more just serving you in processing the information, but not necessarily as a reference point.
Okay. And then in specific, the author inference, like would the author agree or disagree with this? Do you have a specific approach that you would recommend for those questions? Because those are usually the ones I get wrong consistently.
During your review, find where the support for that given answer choice is. This is obviously not something you can pre-phrase because it's way too open-ended.
Yeah, right, okay.
So a lot of it is hunting and scanning and having a mental flag as to where things appear in the passage.
Okay. Okay, I get that. Is there anything that you've seen, like a trend that has helped students significantly improve in RC, even your material, like anything specific that people who are going through the same thing I am going through has helped them?
I don't really think this is about resources at this point. I mean, the test is a month out. You've already used a ton of resources. I know you've been at this for a while. I don't think you need more information. I don't think it's what's going to be important for you. I think it's going to be about application and laying out what I said. So first off, your general approach to reading comp, passages on your initial read, and then after the fact, your review of what you've done to understand where your misunderstanding is coming from. I think that's really what you need, especially in this final month. I've got plenty of resources on my YouTube channel and even more inside my courses. There are plenty of other great resources out there too, but a month prior, I don't think that's what you need. You've got plenty of recent exams to work on.
Okay. And then as an overall, so yeah, I'm a month out. I get -0 on every LG I've done in the past like 5 tests, and then LR I get from like -1 to -4. And I usually feel like with LR, I have all the patterns down. It's just more about like if the stimulus is really complex and the wording is really difficult or like hard vocabulary words. And then RC, like -8 to -10. What would you recommend my approach be for the next month, given all that?
Well, for the final month, it's all about fully timed exams and detailed review of those exams. Of course, August is a flex, so be ready for the flex format in particular. On top of that, drill whatever gives you trouble. I don't recommend starting off with an entirely new plan of attack or a new approach in the final month. It really is about refining. And in your case, I think there is still something to be figured out that's unresolved about how exactly you want to approach reading comp. That's what we've talked about. So I've given my general recommendations there. The same Socratic review method would also apply to logical reasoning. So whatever you do in reading comp, you could do the same in logical reasoning and get a lot out of it, specifically in the form of writing out your review process, really engaging in depth with it, reviewing fewer questions in more depth to really get the insights and the takeaways.
Right. So I should just look up the Socratic review method in your channel and it'll come up.
Correct. Yeah. And I'll send you the link after this call as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been really helpful.
My pleasure. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
That review is very, very important, and quality over quantity is what I should be aiming towards, for sure, at this point at least.
Excellent. Well, keep at it and let me know if you need anything moving forward.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Have a good rest of your day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.